Hey, Katie.
Hi, Emily.
So, today on Pontificating Potter with the Pastors, which is extremely hard to say, um, we are talking about hospitality, which gives us a chance to talk about one of our very favorite characters, who is
Molly Weasley.
Love Molly Weasley.
Yes, and just the queen of hospitality
Yes.
in the wizarding world and all worlds.
Yes. Yes. I think hospitality is kind of a loaded word. Like, people, I think of Southern Living magazine. I don't know what other people think of.
Yeah, for sure.
But like doilies and like knowing which forks to put out. And
Yeah.
I mean, I have learned the forks, but like I didn't learn all the Southern Living things.
That's because you weren't in
Yeah.
Cotillion.
Oh, yeah. Like Pastor
And-
Katie was.
Cotillion and Symphony Bells and a sorority.
Yeah, I
You
did
would've
not
learned-
have as many chances to learn
You would have
manners.
learned them earlier in life, but you would have probably had a skewed vision of what hospitality was.
Right? Yes. Yeah, like hospitality actually, it turns out, doesn't involve white gloves.
No.
Really, ever.
No.
I mean, it can, I
It
suppose, but like that's not a qualification for hospitality.
So I think that one thing, though, to be clear about just right away, just right up front, is that Molly Weasley does cook a lot.
She does.
And
Which we always think of hospitality as
Yeah.
being related to like food and offering people something to eat.
Right.
And she does cook all the time.
Which, just side note, she teaches us about the wizarding laws of physics.
Oh, yeah. With the food. Mm-hmm.
That you can't create something that you don't have the ingredients for.
Right. You can't use magic to like produce ingredients.
Right. So you can like have the spoon continue to stir.
Right.
But you can't like just go soup.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a side note.
Yeah, it's important though, I think, to know that in the wizarding world you still do have to
You
like
still have to
prepare
do
food.
things. But that is certainly not why we talk about her being the queen of hospitality, because she does a great many more things.
She does. She talks a lot about hospitality. And our friend Pastor Hannah also talks a lot about hospitality.
Yes.
And does a lot with hospitality. That's one of FAM's core values is
Practices.
hospitality. And so we asked Pastor Hannah to come talk to us a little bit about hospitality.
I've learned a lot from her about
So have
hospitality.
I.
In my
Absolutely.
time.
And from some of the other folks she's introduced us to. And so I'm excited to hear from her about that. Their hospitality is more about, like the way that FAM talks about it is making sure people know they belong.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, how we want to talk about it in church, too, is
Yeah.
that hospitality is about making people feel like they have a place.
Yes.
And they are welcome and celebrated.
In our in church this last week, hospitality was a real. It was totally the scripture was just there was a through line of hospitality in it, and in that it's about welcoming the stranger,
Right.
Which is helpful to FAM as well because they work with refugees. But that is like again not just about welcoming the stranger, but yeah, making people feel like they belong. And I think that Molly does that well, and I think that FAM does that well too. So I think we should like magically insert our clip like. Okay, hi friends.
Hey.
So we have been doing these Pontificating Potter with the Pastors, and so we're excited to invite Hannah to be a part of this conversation, though she's still fairly new to her understanding of Harry Potter, and is still learning in that area, very much interested in that learning journey, but is learning in that area. What she's not new to is exploring and understanding hospitality. She's probably thought about it more than any of the rest of us by far. So I wanted to make sure, as we're talking today about what Harry Potter has taught us about hospitality, what Molly Weasley has taught us about hospitality, that we talk to you, Hannah. So we're glad that you're here with us. Yay.
Thanks, Mel. Thanks for bringing me along, journeying alongside me in my Harry Potter journey. Shout out. I mean, y'all introduced me to the game.
Oh, yeah.
Have you told folks about the game?
We haven't talked about it at all, and I don't know why.
Talk about it right now.
You know, I was introduced to the game well over a year ago, year and a half ago or so. Whenever
It's
you got
only about a year old.
Oh, it's about a year old. Okay, so like a year ago. And, you know, like enough lunches where you said, Hannah, download this game. Because I was saying, what are you doing with your phone? Yes.
Game.
Wizards Unite.
It's like Pokemon Go, but the Harry Potter universe, and way more fun. I think. I don't know. I've never played Pokemon Go, but I think it's more fun.
It's super fun. So yeah, a year later, it took hanging out at home for 3 months for me to really get into it. So I feel like I've been learning, like it's been helping place pieces of vocabulary of Harry Potter world into the grid for me. So it's fun.
Do you have a favorite character thus far?
I don't think that I'm far enough that I can like give a good answer yet.
Okay, that's okay. We'll keep talking about it
I
forever.
have a lot of love for Hagrid.
Oh yeah,
I
Hagrid's
really
great
do.
character.
I really do. Especially, it's different from the movie than the book. Like when I read, the first book, I was like, I really love Hagrid. So, just
Hagrid also great at hospitality.
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, how he invites them over to his little. I don't know why I feel sad talking about it. Like, but it felt like his little home was kind of sad because he's like, is he kind of like an outcast from? He's kind of thrown out of school, right? But I really love that scene where he invites all of the students over and um, did he make them food? Make them tea?
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Yeah,
it wasn't delicious.
He always offers them something.
So that, okay, entrance into hospitality, right? Because like often we think about hospitality and it's out there in the universe as relating to the restaurant world, which I have worked. My favorite job, other than being a pastor, has been working in restaurants, and so the hospitality industry, like that's can often be how we associate that word, and there's a sense of excellence around like what you are giving. So when Hagrid gives, not good food, like that would be, perhaps a ding in hospitality, but I think that God invites us to think about hospitality much different. And God embodies hospitality by unconditionally sharing God's self with us, and then teaches us and then also embodies this unconditional welcome of us. So I think that's what hospitality is. It's this unconditional sharing and welcome. So, and Jesus embodied that, and, look at his life of ministry. And so if that is how we measure hospitality, it looks different than maybe what the world might say hospitality is. So I love Barbara Brown Taylor, as do the three of us. And she captures kind of what the work of hospitality is in this quote of hers. The hardest spiritual work in the world is to love the neighbor as the self, to encounter another human being not as someone you can use, change, fix, help, save, enroll, convince, or control, but simply as someone who can spring you from the prison of yourself if you will allow it. And that's what I have experienced by getting to be part of FAM Houston. So when I moved to Houston and in 2012, and kind of my first task that I was given by my boss, Pastor Tommy, was to figure out what God was doing with this woman named Nasura, who kept showing up at Westbury United Methodist Church and didn't speak English, and you could see on her face a lot of life lived and sadness and hardship. So when I awkwardly used Google Translate, to go, ask him if I could go visit her in her home, and then the ways that we're trying to think about hospitality, I was like, I need to bring food, right? That's an entry points to both share yourself, but also welcome another person is through food. So brownies, of course, and fruit. And, when Nasura invited me into her apartment, I could tell, I kind of made a guess that the electricity had been turned off because it was June and really hot and no lights were on. And she invited me to sit down at her, on her love seat with her. But it was really that in that moment of us sitting together and realizing, like, I felt like God was connecting us without words, something really holy was happening. It was because this woman who had only met me once trusted me enough to invite me into her home. And then also like taking the risk of, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try. I'm going to show up. So that's something that, and, you know, as I said, the things of noticing that the AC was out and noticing that there was need, back to what Barbara Brown Taylor says about hospitality, that it's not about changing or fixing. It was about being together, and being willing to share myself and welcome her, and for her to share herself with me and welcome me. So over the years, I've had the gift of learning what Fanta is. Orange is my favorite, but that being really a kind of embodying or being this image of hospitality for me when I've gone to visit and build a relationship with refugees in Houston, is being offered bottled water and Fanta as soon as I sat down in their home. So
thank you for sharing. So and I mean, I think you kind of said this, but this is one of the 4 core values of FAM, right? Is hospitality.
It is. Yeah. It's one of our core values, or we think of them as practices. Like, what are the practices that shape how we are building community? And that value, that practice and value was, if you look back in the story and the threads of the last 8 years of the ministry of FAM, that is something that Congolese Houstonians have taught us about. So their culture is just so rich in hospitality. And, you know, if you travel anywhere really around the world, it's a real gift and honor to be able to experience the different ways that different cultures embody hospitality, their different takes on it. So yes, that's one of our 4 practices that are core to who we are. Yeah, and really believe that that's it. Practicing that is how we grow in our discipleship and learning to follow Jesus and share our life of faith with others.
We're really good at magic.
Yeah.
Oh, here I have a wand. We can poof it. No? Okay. Anyway. All right. So, we've had a really good introduction to hospitality and an example of that. And, you know, we want to talk about Molly and the ways that she shows hospitality. I think what Hannah said, the quote she wrote from Barbara Brown Taylor, is really important for Molly, because Molly doesn't use people or exploit them or try to control them. Like, she has so many kids, she can't try to control them.
Yeah.
And she's Fred and George, like, they're wild. And so, like, she doesn't use people. Like, she really does genuinely want to love people and show hospitality to them.
Well, and Hannah's point about Hagrid is also well taken, because the Hagrid is the same way, and this is Harry's entrance into the magical world is with these 2 characters.
Yeah, it's so true.
That are so good at hospitality.
Yeah, and that are both in their own ways, like, I mean, Hagrid more so is like sort of an outside insider, right? Yeah. But they are the ones who are like the best at making sure people feel welcome and included.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
So I think if we're going to hear about how Molly in particular is so good with Harry, and is so hospitable towards Harry, that we have to read it.
We have to read it. I'm so excited. This is one of my favorite parts of the books. I'll tell you why after I read it. Give the setup.
So Harry is in King's Cross Station. He's trying to catch the train to Hogwarts, but he knows he needs to go to platform 9 3/4. There is no platform 9 3/4 that he can see. His uncle thinks that's hilarious and that he's just going to be in trouble, and leaves him. And now he's like on the platform and has no idea what to do, and no idea where to go, and doesn't know who to talk to.
Right. I mean, remember Harry, like, even in the Muggle world, is not from London.
Right.
King's Cross Station's huge.
He has no money. He has no. Yeah.
Yes. like, his uncle is the worst.
Yeah, he's abandoned him.
He's abandoned him at this train station, mocking him, and now he's trying to figure out what to do. And so right there, it says, at that moment, a group of people passed just behind him, and he caught a few words of what they were saying. Packed with muggles, of course. Harry swung around. The speaker was a plump woman who was talking to 4 boys, all with flaming red hair. Each of them was pushing a trunk like Harry's in front of him, and they had an owl. Heart hammering, Harry pushed his cart after them. They stopped, and so did he, just enough to hear what they were saying. "Now what's the platform number?" said the boy's mother. 9 3/4, piped a small girl, also redheaded, who was holding her hand. "Mom, I can't go." "You're not old enough, Jenny. Now be quiet." "All right, Percy, you go first." What looked like the oldest boy marched toward platforms 9 and 10. Harry watched, careful not to blink in case he missed it. But just as the boy reached the dividing barrier between the 2 platforms, a large group of tourists came swarming in front of him, and by the time the last backpack cleared away, the boy had vanished. "Fred, you next," the plump woman said. "I'm not Fred, I'm George," said the boy. "Honestly, woman, you call yourself our mother. Can't you tell I'm George?" "Sorry, George, dear." "Only joking, I am Fred," said the boy, and off he went. His twin called after him to hurry up, and he must have done so because a second later he had gone. But how had he done it? Now the 3rd brother was walking briskly toward the barrier. He was almost there, and then quite suddenly he wasn't anywhere. There was nothing else for it. "Excuse me," Harry said to the plump woman. "Hello, dear," she said. "First time at Hogwarts? Ron's new too." She pointed at the last and youngest of her sons. He was tall, thin, and gangling, with freckles, big hands and feet, and a long nose. "Yes," said Harry. The thing is, I don't know how to get onto the platform," she said kindly, and Harry nodded. "Not to worry," she said. "All you have to do is walk straight at the barrier between platforms 9 and 10. Don't stop, and don't be scared you'll crash into it. That's very important. Best do it at a bit of a run if you're nervous. Go on, go before Ron." "Okay," said Harry. He pushed his trolley around and stared at the barrier. It looked very solid. He started to walk toward it, and people jostled him on their way to platforms 9 and 10. Harry walked more quickly. He was going to smash right into the barrier, and then he'd be in trouble. Leaning forward on his cart, he broke into a heavy run. The barrier was coming nearer and nearer. He wouldn't be able to stop. The cart was out of control. He was a foot away. He closed his eyes, ready for the crash. It didn't come. He kept on running and opened his eyes. A scarlet steam engine was waiting next to a platform packed with people. A sign overhead said Hogwarts Express, 11 o'clock. Harry looked behind him and saw a wrought iron archway where the barrier had been, with the words platform 9 3/4 on it. He had done it.
Yay! He made it onto the platform.
He made it. And only because Molly Weasley helped him.
Yeah.
So I read something on the internet about Harry Potter that talked about, that speculated that Molly Weasley was doing all that on purpose. And like, as I read it aloud, it totally seems like she is. Who asks out loud what the platform number is for the weirdest platform number in the world, especially when it's like your 6th kid going.
And when you're like trying to be somewhat,
Yeah, like a little covert, right?
Because you're in a place full of muggles.
So, but she does it because she sees Harry and she knows he doesn't know what to do. And she wants to help, but she doesn't want to... I mean, she lets him have his dignity, right? Like, she doesn't say, "Oh, poor sweet boy, you have no idea what you're doing."
Right.
She just says things within earshot so that he can figure it out for himself.
Right. Okay, so here's my question.
Yeah.
This is the fan theory or whatever that this is, that she's making it obvious. Is she making it obvious because she sees a kid by himself with an owl and she just knows that he clearly doesn't know what he's doing? Or is she making it obvious because she knows he is Harry Potter before?
The fan theory is she knows, and that because she was in Order of the Phoenix with Harry's parents. And that they had all made a deal basically when they started the order that they would take care of each other's kids if they lost them. Yeah, I know. So that, like, she's very intentionally, like, keeping a promise she made to Lily Potter to take care of her child. That's the fan theory.
That's the fan theory.
I don't know that it's provable, but I like it.
Regardless, like, I think you are right in that she realizes this is a wizarding kid. He doesn't know what to do.
Right.
Even if she doesn't realize that's who he is. So if we kept reading, just like the thing that happens, like she does. She makes sure that he knows that he belongs. Like this is the thing that she does, is that she just brings people into her little world, right? And like makes them feel welcome and makes them feel okay about being there, and just puts her in with her own kids. Like, you just go before Ron, like between her children, making sure that, you know, and I don't know that I trust Fred and George on the other side of the platform without me. But
she said Percy first.
That's true. He's going to
narc on him. Yeah.
But so as soon as they get through, like, if we kept reading, Fred and George help him to get his giant case onto the train, and then Fred and George realize who he is on the train as they're like settling in, and then they come back out to say goodbye to their mom, and they said, "Oh, guess who we met on the train? That kid that was in the platform with us, that was Harry Potter." And what does Molly do?
I mean, she tells them to, like, watch. I can't remember what exactly
she says, but be cool.
Watch out for him. Yeah, like, be cool. Yeah, don't pester him with questions.
Yeah, don't. Do you think he remembers how he got that? So absolutely don't ask him that.
Right.
How could you? You know, that's the last thing he needs to be thinking about.
He's probably already so nervous.
Right. And then Jenny's like, "Well, I want to see him," and she's like, "Jenny, you've already seen him." Just like makes it like no big. You've already seen him.
Be cool, guys.
Yeah, I mean, very much is just like be chill. Like, don't make him feel like, Molly does this thing where she makes people feel special and doesn't make them feel too special.
Yes.
Yeah.
She does.
Yeah.
I think in the Bible they call that honor everyone.
Yes.
I think that's how they say it in the epistles.
Yes. Okay, so she continues to have this sort of relationship with Harry, like, all throughout the books. And she just kind of, I mean, a woman that already has 7 kids, to then, and that they don't have wealth, right? Like, that money is tight, to just constantly allowing him just to come into their home, and just to be one of the kids. Like, from the first, even with the first time he shows up, is not exactly at her permission, because they fly in car and go get him, and he's just there in the morning,
on the boys though, but never on Harry.
No, but she's like, you can go sleep, and she's like, well, I think I'd really rather do gnome the garden. She's like, that's fine, go to work, like, make it okay. But always, like, she just is fine with him being there and just being part of the family, and just bringing him in to that,
without making him feel like a spectacle.
Yes. Yeah. So one of the things that about hospitality I think is important is, like, not about necessarily being treated like exactly what we just said, like making him feel special, but not too special, but treating somebody as if how they would want to be treated. And Harry doesn't want to be extraordinary, right? Like, Harry's greatest desire is just to be normal, and I think that she does that. Also, she sends him a Christmas sweater, and even though Ron thinks it's like the lamest thing in the world, like, it means
Harry's never gotten a Christmas present from a mom.
No, and it's you get the same Christmas present as my boys, because you belong
with us.
You belong.
I do think, like, the distinction between, like, treating, like, the rule is, treat others how you want to be treated, but, like, that's not always the right answer. Like, it really is to treat people the way they want to be treated, and pay attention to the needs of the other person. Like, I might really want to be a spectacle, right? But you don't.
No, I don't.
I mean, this is actually true. Like, I don't actually want to be a spectacle, but I don't hate being the center of attention as much as Katie does.
I really don't.
Katie hates it a lot. And so, like, that's something that as your friend, like, I'm aware of, and, like, you're aware for me of things that, like, I need, and this is how I need to be treated. And, like, that's a part of hospitality too that takes more time. Like, that's less about welcoming the stranger and more about being hospitable to people that you are in relationship with,
and learning them. And that's, it's just it's a broader concept than offering the meal. So also, when we talk about the ancient concept of hospitality too, and I say ancient, but, like, it is not ancient, right?
I mean, it is ancient, but it's also so present.
Yes.
Just not maybe in our culture as much.
I know, and I always hate to say that, but like it is true. Like
Yeah.
go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Maybe not anywhere else, but I've been many places where like hospitality is a part of honor. And
Yes.
like it is an
And it's a rule. Yeah.
It is an expectation. So actually, this is not Harry Potter, but whenever I went to Israel, our bus driver was Bedouin. And so they live in tents. Like
Right.
then hospitality is the just standard, like an expectation. And he told me one day, we were talking about it, and he said, yeah, if you you would be welcome to come to my house anytime, and I would be expected, I would be honored, and the expectation would be that you would stay with me for 2 weeks. So you could stay with me for 2 weeks. I always have enough food in my house for a visitor to come and stay for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And
That's
there's
awesome.
also a part in that ancient Near East understanding of hospitality that, especially when we talk about the ancient, that it's not just about like feeding and caring for the person, but it's offering protection.
Yes.
And
for people traveling, because there weren't hotels.
Right.
And, yeah.
Right. And the Weasleys 100%
Oh gosh.
do this.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and so I think we'll talk about that in a second, but like but Molly does this so well with Harry, but Harry is not the only person that she does this with.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah.
Like
this is who she is.
Constantly, like their home is home base for a reason. I mean, it's home base until it gets blown up by the Death Eaters.
Right. Only in the movie.
Only in the movies. But
that's my least favorite part of the movie to book translation.
Yeah, I know.
It's gratuitous. Anyway.
But it only is. But their home is home base,
yes.
and until it's like seen as home base, and they have to find a new home base.
Well, and even their other home, like even at 12 Grimmauld Place, like she is the one who is making that kind of like haunted, scary house home. Like Sirius doesn't do that because it never felt like home to him.
Right.
And so she is the one who welcomes people there. And I mean, I think that's an important thing about hospitality in general is that it's not always about inviting people into your home. Like hospitality is a thing you can carry around with you.
She does it in the train station.
In the train station. Like it goes with her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Molly is one person. So I'm sure that we could, and we'll do it as our question about who else do you think does hospitality well. Yeah. But I think that we could say that Molly is the person in her family that is held up on the pedestal about this, but that she has set it as the expectation in everybody in her family, because really they mostly all do it very well.
Yeah. Percy may be the worst. I just think Percy's the worst.
That was going to be my point. Percy is the exception.
He comes around. You like to think he comes around more.
Not in hospitality.
Well, no.
Maybe he does, but
Percy.
You don't see it. You don't see it. But yeah, I think that Arthur does it as well. And I think the thing that both Molly and Arthur do for Harry specifically is that they normalize his inexperience. And so she does it at the platform and makes it totally okay that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And the funniest way that Arthur does it is when Harry is staying there between years 1 and 2, and he's like, Harry, come sit next to me, and like uses his like muggle obsession to and asks Harry really basic questions that I just think if his job, kind of the same as what you were talking about with Molly, if his job is muggle relations, like some of the questions that he asks, except for the rubber duck, and that is kind of weird, but like the questions that I think that he's asking him, I think he would know some of the answers to.
He might even know about the rubber duck. But
he plays dumb, and he allows Harry to be the expert and to teach him, and like totally normalizes his inexperience in the wizarding world, because all of this is brand new to him. Being in a wizarding house is new to him. But you do bring something to the table, and I want to know about it. I want you to teach me about it.
That's another fan value, is mutuality. And like Arthur embraces that instantly and gives Harry, wants Harry to be an expert for him. Absolutely.
And then just briefly, the other Weasleys, like Ron. I mean, Ron is his best friend. He makes him feel welcome all of the time, I think. And especially
helps him learn the wizarding world.
Especially in that first year, just like even the things that he tells him on the side, like helps to inform him of on the side.
In a way that, like, as much as I love Hermione, like Hermione can't do, because she's so uptight. Like, and so like a little pretentious about all the things she's read about the wizarding world. because even though she's from a Muggle family, like it's a real different Muggle family than Harry's from. And so Ron is really his guide.
Well, and I think the thing is, I do think that Molly and Arthur do it with they show hospitality with an intentionality.
Yeah.
And I think Ron just does it. I don't think it's intentional.
Yeah.
I think it's just
who he is.
In the course of friendship, that this is just built into who he is. I don't think that it's super thought out. Like, I want to make sure this kid doesn't make a fool of himself. Right. Like this is what friends do. Right. So we just do this.
Right.
And then the twins, yes, like helping him with the stuff, but also like when he can't go to town.
Yeah, like they're the first ones to help him. It's a little underhanded.
Yeah,
but
they're always willing to help him belong by breaking the rules to get there.
Right.
But like that's just who they are.
Right. But at least they're willing to help. And they do, like later on under Umbridge's reign of terror, like take the other younger kids kind of under their wings and comfort them when she is the worst.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like take time to, like, they are mischievous boys, but they are not uncaring boys.
No, not at all. Not at all. And Jenny, I don't know. I think one of the ways that Jenny shows hospitality is just like giving Harry his space when he needs it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
so true. That's a real introvert thing to think. Oh, yeah.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right, but like we would both think that.
And then I think really it's just never Percy.
Oh yeah, just never Percy.
Never Percy. I guess Bill does at Shell Cottage.
Yeah, he does. Like they open up that space for like wounded soldiers, essentially.
Yeah. And let them come along.
We don't know much about Charlie.
I guess he takes the dragon.
He takes the dragon.
But I don't
so
know
that's something. Really,
but like, yeah. So basically,
we assume Charlie is better than Percy.
Yeah,
because Percy's awful.
Because Percy's the worst. Percy's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we would love to hear from you all.
Yeah.
Like, who you think the characters are in the Wizarding world that show hospitality. Yeah. And how do you think they show it? Maybe it's a way we haven't even talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I think Hagrid is one. You can still write about Hagrid, but, like, I think he shows it in really important ways. There's all kinds of ways that characters show hospitality. So we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and if you comment on this video here, either on YouTube or Facebook, or send us an email, that we will give you house points. But
points! Go Ravenclaw!
I don't know where the Gryffindor one is.
No, I don't either. Here,
I'll wear my scarf. You'll get house points. I'd love for you to comment on one of our actual, and you can send us an email. We'd love that. But comment on Facebook so that other people can see your ideas
and comment on them too.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.